We usually have to get a little ballpoint pen or something tiny, a paper clip, to press it because it's very tiny. But if you press it, it can erase something you saved, something you held there for a long time, or it just might erase the structure of the thing and keep everything you saved, but you never know. That's why we don't like to press reset. What happens if you need to reset your life? And what would happen if you need to reset your religion? We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is going to be, you're going to love this.
On this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Abundant Life Cathedral Church, the church of tomorrow today. A ministry that is building the people that shape the world.
Everybody, it's Yolanda, and welcome to Dr. Ed's Sensational Sundays. I am here with your wow moment, your words of wisdom. Remember, we are talking about building a better life in 2022. And the building block that we have been talking about is prayer. We all know that prayer is more than just please give me, please give me, please give me. It is a combination of dialogue, monologue, and the most important thing is listening. Are you sitting still and waiting to hear God's voice, or are you so in a rush that you want to do things your way and you want it to happen so fast? Well, usually it doesn't work like that. So prayer prepares you for God's answer. Make sure you're doing that. And here's Dr. Ed.
If you're in this place and you're watching this space here that we're in, and maybe you're not watching it live, but you're watching it later, look, to me it's live. I act like it's live. To me, I see it as live because we're in a space where there is no time or place. So make sure you share this with somebody. You can always make your comments. We read the comments even long after it's been aired the first time. We read them later on. If this is 2 days later, make your comments. I like going back, reading your comments. I want to hear what you say. I want to hear what you think. And not only that, of course, you can like it if you're on Facebook. And of course, hit that subscribe wherever you are on YouTube, because a lot of you are there. It's just this space right here is growing by leaps and bounds. Don't even get me started with Dr. Ed's place. That's, oh my goodness, I'll tell you what number we are on later on. But let me get into what I want to say today. Resetting our lives. Resetting religion. That's one of the reasons I wanted to redo that word of wisdom, that wow moment with Yolanda Adams, because she talked about building blocks. And we are resetting our lives. We are starting to build our lives back again. But why should we build our lives? And not only that, why are we building our religion back the same way it was before? Come on. You know that it was not doing exactly what you wanted it to do before COVID. Now, since COVID, you haven't been to church. New things are happening. And you're trying to get back into the religious groove and get back into your spiritual groove. And you're finding out that that spiritual groove is not necessarily what you want it to be. And you're wondering, why has it not jumped back the way it was? What's going on with your relationship with God? What's going on with your spiritual understanding? You and God had it, y'all was tight like that. God is my friend. But something else is going on now. The world has shifted. The world has changed. Your relationships have changed. How you relate to others have changed. How others are relating to you has changed. And you're saying, what should I do? And I'm coming along telling you today, you might need to reset. Not just reset your life. I'm talking about reset your religion. No. Because what if I lose something? What if some of the things I saved goes away? What if some of the things that I've gone through and I've learned some things? Reset? It's not uncommon. Peter had enough faith to walk the water. Then all of a sudden he reset, sank. Jesus caught him, brought him back up, taught him a new way of doing things. But there does come a point when we have to reset. And I'm going to tell you right up early, I'm not going to hold it as a cliffhanger or anything. We reset when we come to a place in our lives where our faith cannot cover the problems. When the template of our faith is so small and the cloth of the problem is so big and complex that you got the faith on top of that big cloth. It's like putting a face cloth on top of a bath towel or a beach towel. And the faith that you're talking about is not strong enough to handle all of the things that are coming at you. You know what I'm talking about? You may act like that, well, I don't know what are you talking about. Stuff that's coming at you. Relationship that came at you before, you were able to handle it, but now it's at a point. Now you're seeing some stuff that's new, you've never seen before, and you're asking God, what's up? A lot of things are happening in our world. And I got some news for you. If you think you're going to recover from it, we're not going to recover. There's going to have to be a renewal, and we may have to reset. As a matter of fact, I kind of believe that we will reset. But I need to tell you a story. I need to tell you something about how this kind of stuff works, how your religion actually works. If you are going to understand how to reset it. Here it is. History in a nutshell. Jesus, when he was teaching, most people don't realize that Jesus was Jewish. Yes. Yeah, they paint pictures of him as if he was white. And let me begin early right now when you hear me use these phrases. I'm in Black History Month, and so I'm going to be talking about things that are difficult for some people to hear, but you've got to hear it. You've got to listen. And I'm talking about even the people of color. You've got to hear. Well, I didn't want to tune in to hear anything about race. Well, you already got to talk about race because race is always being talked about. So when it's talked about at you, you have to talk back at it. You have to counteract some things. And there's a reason why. Jesus was Jewish. But every time you see pictures of Jesus, what do you see on your grandmother's, great-grandmother's wall and things of that sort? There's Jesus got long, straight hair, very creamy white skin, and his nose is one particular shape, and he's got blue eyes, and this is how we see Jesus. Yet at the same time, we also know that Jesus was Jewish. If Jesus was Jewish at that particular time, his skin wasn't that light because they didn't have air conditioning, so they didn't stay inside their homes that long. They were outside. Jesus was a carpenter, which meant almost a stonemason, which meant Jesus spent the majority of his time from sunup to sundown outside from a child. So, and he was near Egypt because Egypt is right there in Africa. As a matter of fact, the family would go back and forth to Egypt. It is believed that there was family there. So we understand about the whole color thing. So Jesus was not what people consider to be white. Now, when I say the word white, I right here am talking about the color of one's skin. If I said black, I may be talking about the color of one's skin. But race, ladies and gentlemen, is something that is totally different, especially in America. When you are in America and people talk about black and white, they're not talking about the color of skin. They're talking about the construct, what society has done to make one as a class that is higher than the other. I think one of the things that, that I think about during Black History Month, notice we always talk about this was the first person who ran a race in America. This was the first architect, black architect in America. This was the first black mason in America. This was the first black woman who ever achieved it. And we talk about the first. Why do we talk about the first, especially within Black America? Because we are dealing with value. And what we want to show is that there is value, and not just to people who are black, because people who are melanated people need to know there's value in melanated skin. But it also is saying to those who are non-melanated that black people have value. Now, I know this to some may seem like, oh my goodness, but that's why we do it. If we didn't have to deal with value, we wouldn't even say this is the first black or this is the first black, because we're dealing with image. And this is what religion can do. A religion, which is the conveyor belt. Religion is the conveyor belt of faith. Real faith can take you from one level of how you think about yourself to the ultimate level of how you think about yourself. It says faith can move mountains. In other words, real faith, if you say, well, I'm nobody, I never will be anybody, look at me, at my color or my lips or my skin or my hair. I mean, there are people, it doesn't matter what they are, what color they are, feel that way about themselves. But what faith can do is faith says, if you are in the image of God, if you are God breathed, if you carry the breath of God, then you carry a God consciousness. God is within you. And that right there makes you lift your head a little bit higher, makes you walk a little stronger, puts a little, stuff in your strut. It makes you feel that way. Even when you come up against people who think you're lower or less than, you never see yourself that way, so that when you see yourself, you don't see yourself as less than. They look at you and say, this person don't see themselves as less than me, especially if they've been trained to see others as less than them. This is what religion has done. And religion has trained other people religiously to see other people as less than them. Religion was one of the constructs, one of the racial constructs that was used to deal with that whole class system, where you have one that feels supremacy or nationalism, while the other is below all of this. I wish it wasn't true. I wish that we did not have to deal with this in a racial construct, or should I say a religious construct. You would think that serving God, walking with the Lord, looking at the image of Jesus, you wouldn't have to be looking at an image that shows as if Jesus was Aryan or white Aryan. Because when he says, my Father, then people start thinking that evidently God is that. God is spirit. They that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. God doesn't have a body, doesn't have arms and legs. So the Father of Jesus is not physical. The Father of Jesus is spiritual. Now catch this. If the Father of Jesus is spiritual and we are one with Christ, then that means our Father is spiritual. The same Father that Jesus says when you pray, say our Father. Our Father is spiritual. Our Father is not white nor black. In other words, the same spirit that energizes Jesus, regardless of what color Jesus is the same spirit that energizes us. But it also makes us a brother to Jesus. Jesus is called the firstborn among many brethren. It makes us a brother or sister, brother, all it comes, brother, there's no gender here, to Jesus. So they had this whole thing about Jesus being white and you can't get, because he's up there in the sky and he's sitting next to the Father, so therefore you can't get to him. Oh yeah, you can get to him, baby, because Jesus is who we are to follow as our example spiritually of how to make a connection with the Father. But then I'm getting way off of my subject, because in order to help you reset this whole thing, I've got to give you some history. It's not boring history, but you got to have some history. See, Jesus being Jewish, the relationship of that, his teachings went down into several ways. It went down into Africa. So Christianity was in Africa long before it had went anywhere else. The teachings of Jesus, as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were like corporations. Each one of these corporations, they were like publishing companies. And each one of these, Mark was the oldest publishing company, and it had like about 10 people who went out and they started talking to grandpas and mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers, grandpas, great grandfathers, and say, hey, do you remember Jesus saying this? Yeah, Jesus said, blessed are they. Yeah, Jesus said this. Jesus said that. I remember. Oh yeah, I remember my grandmother used to say, Jesus said this. This was back during the time, like 30, 40, 50 years after Jesus had left this planet. And so Mark wrote his gospel like that and pulled all these things together. All those things that were in common, not just what one person said, but if you got, 100 or 200 people saying the same thing, you kind of figure, hey, Jesus said this or he did this. Here's that miracle. Not necessarily all the same, but basically here it is. They took Mark, which is the first gospel. Matthew and Luke took it, looked at Mark, made it the template. Then they went out and talked to some other people, some more people, went deeper into the generations, and they came up with Matthew and Luke, which is why Matthew and Luke kind of look the same, but a lot of Mark is in Luke and Matthew because that Mark was the template. John came along different because John is a gospel that came along around 100 years later. John is more mystical, deals with the spirit element and that kind of in the spirit and the dove and things of that sort. That's where John is. So you got the four gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This is the story of Jesus. And how did this message get out? Went down off into Africa. Look at a world map now. Then the message went east. Then it went west. Now you said, well, where did it go when it went west? It went down into Rome. Of course, they were Roman. Paul was in Rome. Peter was in Rome. It went into Rome and Caesar and all of these. Of course, that's where the gospel got into Italy. And there in Rome, Italy, that is where your popes and things of that came out 100 so years later and hundreds of years and on and on and on and on. And they were the church. They were the church. There was no other church. It was the church. And they call themselves the Catholic Church. Catholic only means just one. In other words, the ultimate universal church. This was what the Catholic was. It wasn't a denomination. But the gospel also went east, what we call Greek Orthodox. You may see the people with the hats and the things of that sort and the long beards and the braids and things of that sort. Greek Orthodox. And so Constantinople and all those different things. Going east, it was more of Christ in you. Going west, it was more of Jesus is inside of a human man, or the vicar of Christ, which is the Pope, the representative of Jesus on the planet. You see the difference? Everybody got a minute. The other one is you've got the representative, which is the Pope, and then the one going down in Africa, combined with African spiritualism, which began to flow off and on down off in there in Africa. Then Islam came along about 400, 500, 600 years later. And Islam came down and began to take root in Africa. So you have little combinations of things that are going on there. Now, after it was in Rome, guess where? It got on up into northern Europe. It went north toward England. And it was all right, but the English people said, no, we tired of all this, that Roman religion and everything. The Pope, well, what had happened is the king wanted to marry another woman. He was already married. He wanted to marry him another woman. I think it was Anne Boleyn. And Pope said, no, you can't marry somebody else. The king got mad up at England and said, I tell you what, forget you, and broke away. And they turned around and they created their own church. It's called the Church of England. And if I'm not mistaken, Anne Boleyn had a baby, and the baby was Queen Elizabeth. That's that most popular Queen Elizabeth. Well, anyway, all this was happening up north. Move on toward the east-west before you got all the way to the east and you get into Germany. And the German people got a little upset at the Catholic Church. As a matter of fact, a man by the name of Martin Luther he says Catholic Church was horrible. What they were doing were praying folk out of hell. If you gave them some money, they'd pray your loved ones out of hell. And so they came up with what was called the Reformation of the Church. In other words, they began to protest the Catholic Church, which made them Protestants. These Protestants sent some of their folk on into England. So you had your Anglican people in England as well as some Puritans. And so you got your Puritans and a few Anglicans, hook them together, and guess where you sent them off? They put them on a boat and told them there was going to be a city on a hill so they could get some of them along with some of the criminals that was in the jail houses out of Europe, because there's too many folk in England, and they put them on the Mayflower, they put them on Antebellum, they put them on these boats, and they shipped them on over to this place called America. By the time they got there, they discovered that not only that down off in Virginia, there had been some slaves that had gotten there around 1619, which they don't want to tell you that story. They were there around 1619. How did they get there? They got there earlier because there was a triangle. In other words, you left England, you went down to Africa, got some slaves, you left Africa with the slaves, went over into the Caribbean, and you sold the slaves, and you sold them, and you enslaved people, and you got some rum, some sugar. No, you got some sugar and molasses. Why did you get sugar and molasses? Because sugar and molasses makes rum. Because if you're doing that kind of slave trade, you need to get high, baby. You need to get drunk so that you don't have to carry that guilt on you. And so they took that sugar and that molasses, and they went back and completed that triangle back up to England, where they made rum. They made them some liquor. And then they repeated the process on and on. But nope, and then all of a sudden something happened when they were on the second leg of the Caribbean, and one of the Dutch boats got in trouble and sailed on and wound up in America, 1619. They got off the boat, and these black folk enslaved from Africa saying, where in the world are we now? It's about 19, maybe 20 of them, from what we understand. That's what they're trying to fight, that history, so it doesn't appear that people of color were in this country long before. Now, the Puritans had already come down, set foot on Mayflower. They here, they brought their religion, and they brought their protesting. And remember, they've got the protest from Martin Luther. Martin Luther got his understanding of protesting from his belief, in other words, that the just shall live by faith. And he got it because he had been drinking one night, very heavy that night. Who? Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King. Martin Luther back in the 1500s, the father of the Protestant movement. Yeah, Protestant Catholic. Father, where under Protestant come to, I never forget, I was a Boy Scout. And I was at Farragut State Park, Idaho, and they was having church services. And one of the older guys said, well, where are you going? I said, I'm going to church service. They had my Boy Scout union. He said, well, which one are you going to? I said, I don't know. He said, the Catholic church service is over there and the Protestant service over there. I said, well, I'm not neither one. I'm Baptist. God laughed at me. I was only 15. God laughed at me. He says, you're Protestant. I said, no, I'm Baptist. He said, no, you're Protestant, going over there. Because Baptists, Methodists, and all them come under the Protestant people, the protesters. Martin Luther was drunk beer. Yeah, I was trying to get around it. He was a beer drinker. He guzzled the stuff. That's why a lot of the hymns that came out of the Lutheran church that we got as the protesters, the tunes, the words were changed, but the tunes came out of the bar, because that's where Martin Luther got the tunes. So, he had been drinking late that one night and came up with the just shall live by faith. You said, was he too? I don't know, but that's the bottom line. That's how it protested. And out of that came another movement, the Puritans. And the Puritans were in England, and the Puritans who were with somebody named John Calvin, which is another one of the guys. I don't think he drunk that much, but when he got toward the end of his life, he stopped believing in what he believed in because he wasn't sure whether he was going to heaven or hell. Anyway, these people wound up in America. So now you have the Puritans, you have the English from Virginia, you got the slaves from 1619, you got rum, you got tobacco, you got the Dutch, you got all this going on in America. And they're about to begin this country. Then you've got your indigenous people. You've got your tribes of indigenous people. All the way from Florida, all the way up into the Ohio valleys and all around there. All these people. You got your Spanish that are down off in Mexico killing Spanish, those who are there. Indians that are there. The Incas all around. All of this stuff is going on. And in this, in the 1600s, America is about to be born. And all of this is centered in religion. Ladies, gentlemen, don't you go anywhere. Hit share, comment. If you like this, if this is interesting to you, let me know. If you like this, hit like. If you subscribe, hit subscribe. But whatever you hit it. You're in Dr. Ed's place. Type in Google, go to Dr. Ed's place, because it's going to get deeper than that. But whatever you do, don't go away. I'll be right back. Look, I want you to take a moment right here before I give you this last point. The lifeblood of any organization is support, how people feel about that organization, what they think about, and can we catch your attention long enough to support it in a tangible way. And I really appreciate your prayers, and I appreciate all of the goodwill that you have toward us. And another way in which to express that is how you give. Giving is that lifeblood. Giving. When I see your name, and see nowadays it's a little bit different. I wouldn't necessarily see all the names. You know, they do the envelopes and you give in church and everything. But now, close to 80% of our giving is done online. And I love it. I appreciate it. So keep doing what you're doing. This is a brand new year. I want you to take a moment right here, right now, and prepare. Get one of your best gifts that you're getting ready to give online. I know some of you may give it a different way, and we'll talk to that in a moment. But those of you that are going to give online, I want you to take this moment right here. First thing I'm going to say is that you can give through your app. Our app has been updated to such an extent. Download it, Abundant Life Center. You will love it. It's right on your phone. If you happen to want to watch our broadcast on Sunday, all you do is, it's on your app, it's on your phone, your iPad, or whatever, your computer. You hit that button, kabam. Hit live stream, bam. You're immediately into our service. That's how fast that goes. When you're ready to give, like right now, all you have to do on the app is hit the give button. It does not take you out of the app. That the message continues on. You can actually still hear me talking, and the give button is right there, and you can give. And here's how you give. You give through your text to give. That's what that's connected to. See how easy this is? And you can use your phone. Just pick up your phone and use your phone and do your text to give on your phone. And all you got to do is text 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. And you text that number. That's the number you put in there. And you, in the message, you decide what you're going to give. What is this? What you gonna get? $20, $22 for the new year? You're gonna get $50, $100? What are you gonna give? Whatever you're going to give. And people say, there are people who have money who want to give, especially on this Sunday, the first Sunday of the year. And you can do it, and it goes immediately. I actually can see your name. Yeah, I can't see it on this one because I don't have the app open. But I actually can see your name when it happens immediately. And you can text to give. And that's how that works. Just type the number on that message line, press that send button, bing, and it goes like immediately. Not only that, you can go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. That's our website. That's the big site. That's the major site. And you can hit that donate button, that give button, and the screen will pop up, and it's a new 2022 screen, and you can give through that. All your information is safe and secure, and do it right now. Do it right now. I'm taking the time now. Do it right now. Then of course, you got your web and you got your phone, you got your app, text to give. Yeah, that all comes together. But there are those who are also giving. I sent out a letter to a lot of people, and just to let them know, touch is very important. Some people just want to touch something. And that's one of the reasons I sent out that letter, so you could just kind of, I wrote it myself, signed it. All that is important. So you can take that letter. If you got an envelope and you want to mail that envelope back, mail it back. If not, you can create your own envelope. If you just want to do a check at it, or just drop it by the building, or whenever you want to, or whatever you want to do, mail it, because everything is still safe and secure. And that's at Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300. Houston, Texas, 77215. Now those numbers will be up on slates throughout your broadcast. You'll be able to see it. But right at the first of this year, do that today. If you can't do it now, do it as soon as we go off. But make sure you do it, because this is not only the lifeblood, but this will make you feel so good inside. This is what enables us to speak to this next generation. There's going to be so many things. Let me go back into my class. All right. Also, let me tell you this before I want to say thank you for all of your contributions. You've been so, I always say special, but you've been so unique in keeping everything going. Financially holding up our hands and being, what's that song, The Wind Beneath Our Wings? You've done that, and I appreciate that so much. And now that our building is open, well, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but now that our building is open, I can't wait to see you there. As a matter of fact, it's time for you to show up. Now, let me get back. I'm not going to finish this on this medium here, but I'm going to finish it in Dr. Ed's place. I'm going to finish it at the building on Sunday mornings. This is where you're going to actually see the completion of it. It's going to be a different look. They might even be showing you a clip right now, but it's a different look. And I'll get the opportunity to expound a little bit more. But let me get at least as far as I can on this medium. Fast forward in America, and I want you to go get up into the 1800s. And this is during the time just before the Civil War. You've got slavery is in full force. Over 4 million people are enslaved right here in America. And the religion that's being taught is that you have to forgive, and you slaves obey your masters because it's in the scriptures. But they don't want the enslaved people to learn to read, and they definitely don't want them reading the Bible, because the Bible has a tendency to have overtones of freedom. Now, I can hear some people saying, well, you know, the Bible's written by men. See how they use the Bible to promote slavery? I know exactly how they use the Bible to promote slavery. And by using the Bible to promote slavery, you can turn around and you can look at the scriptures in that same Bible and you can free your mind from from shackles that enslave. We can turn this whole thing around. We can literally set this whole thing free. It's interesting how, and I'll give you just one principle, And I'm not gonna hold you any longer because I'll be able to finish this while I'm in my while we're at the at our building here in Katy at Running Life Center. One of the things we learned about Jesus, and that is we are taught, Jesus, come into my heart. I want Jesus in my heart. And I asked myself that question, when did we start learning about Jesus being, coming into our hearts? And I remember years ago, as a child, we're understanding Jesus coming to our hearts. But when we joined the church back then, back in the 50s, I'm telling my age too, in the 50s and 60s, what our predominantly black churches or our black churches did was they had you join the church, and that was the equivalent of getting saved. I'll never forget for the first time when I went to a church that was predominantly white, non-melanated, and they says, would you like to receive Jesus Christ as your personal Savior? And I said, personal Savior? I get my own? I had never heard that before. In my church, they said, you join the church. And so I heard some black teachers begin to teach. See, that's what the problem with the black church is. They got you join the church. Well, you need to join Jesus. And everybody clapping everything. But as I got older and studied a little bit more, I began to realize that there were people who were joining Jesus, but they never showed up again that next Sunday. They joined Jesus, but never came back to church. They joined Jesus. Jesus was in their heart. But that was it. But the folk that was at least, hey, I'm joining the church. What they did was they connected with people in the choir, connected with, and all of the experiences weren't perfect. Anything human is not perfect. Or they connected on the usher board, or they got to know other folk in the church. And what I began to realize is Jesus made a statement. He said, come unto me, all ye that labor and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. In other words, connect with me. A yoke was where oxen carried or pulled a cart. You'd have one oxen in one part of the yoke, but you needed a second oxen. So two of them could pull at the same time. They would learn how to pull, not fighting each other, but pull with the same strength in the same space at the same time. Jesus says, I'm going to show you how to pull together. And learn of me. Learn how to carry the weight that is behind you. And let me tell you something, that absolutely blew my mind. Jesus is teaching us that it takes time to learn how to deal with the weight that is being thrown at us in life. And in this life, the weight is getting stronger. Listen to me. Do you realize what we're up against? Everybody's talking about Trump and what's happening with Trump and what Trump is doing. It's not as much about Trump as it is about the people who clap for Donald Trump. Why are they clapping for him? Why are there people who want to stop people from voting easily? What's going on with people who want to make it harder? Who would rather, you say, well, you sound like a Democrat, the taxing the people who got money and we don't need to give people in welfare. We're tired of all giving away welfare and giving away money people. Listen, You mean tired of helping mothers with children who need to get their children in preschool, 3, 4 years old, like we used to? Giving them a head up, giving them a hand up. Is this what you're talking about? America's taking a lot of money. So if you can't make it work by trying to convince people you're just going to stop them from voting, you're going to take their history out of classrooms. Well, let me tell you something. I got news for you. There's an old scripture we have. And that old scripture says this: no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I got news for you. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Look, there's some more that needs to be said on this, because there's some more history. As you understand the history, then you know how you're going to reset your religion. In other words, there is more to your faith that's going to help you overcome the doubts that we're about to deal with next week, next month, in the next 6 months, when election comes, when all of this stuff starts hitting. Baby, your faith is going to be set and ready if you stick with me, hang with me. I can't do it all on this medium, but look, we can get it done. Go to myalc.org, find out where you can sign up and get to ALC Abundant Life Center. We're in Katy. Look, we're the only one of its kind of our in Katy, Texas. And we're opening the doors and opening eyes of people that are going to make a change in their lives. Oh, it's going to be a change. Look, my time is up. I got to go. So make sure you connect. That's how we stay as one. All right? Okay. I got to go. I'll see you. Bye-bye. Hey, this is Dr. Ed. We've been on this journey for over 40 years. Some have been there with us for almost 40. Some have just started this journey with us. But what we've been able to do is help people to find joy, peace, enlightenment. They have grown tremendously, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and it's all because of your contributions, your help, our journey on this road. Take a moment, make a contribution at myalc.org. That's myalc.org. That's our website. That's our main place where you're even able to watch our show on Sunday mornings. Not only that, but you can also give through our app. And you can download that app from Google Play, or you can download it from the App Store by just typing in Abundant Life Center, or you can type in Ed Montgomery and the Abundant Life Center app will pop up and you can download it. It only takes a few moments. And you can have that way. You can carry us with you on your phone and your iPads and all those kind of good things. Not only that, but you can also do text to give. That's very popular because people are able to give if they forget to be on their, website or their app. They can just give right on the spot, real fast, real quick. Sometimes they do text to give even when we're inside of a church service. And you can do that by texting to 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. Or you could give through our P.O. Box. Safe, sound, secure. You can give, you can make sure you put a stamp on the envelope, but you can, write us a little note, drop me a little note, whatever you want to do, and mail it. There are some folks that's just, hey, I'm just going to mail this. And you can mail your contribution, and that's to the Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215. I'm going to say it again. That's that old radio thing. You got to say it twice. Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215. Continue on this journey with us. And if you're new for the first time, start this journey with us. I promise you, not only will it change your life, but you'll change the life of so many around you, and that'll make you feel real good inside. Thanks.